Tonight's speaker is Julie Fisher, and she is the brand spanking new CEO of the Trail Conservancy, which I believe was known as the Trail Foundation before this, but it's still the same trail. She leads the efforts to protect, enhance, and connect the 10-mile hike and bike trail surrounding Lady Bird Lake. She's focused on building partnerships, expanding community involvement, and ensuring the long-term preservation of the trail and the vital green spaces that surround it. She is an accomplished community leader and advocate who brings a blend of corporate experience from National Instruments and Samsung, as well as community leadership and a personal connection to the trail as an avid runner and nature lover. Julie holds a BS in Recreation Administration from Texas State University in San Marcos. She is an Austin native who is deeply committed to the community that shaped her. She's eager to champion upcoming projects like the revitalization of the Seaholm Intake Facility and the Holly Shores redevelopment. Julie? This little mic goes to the camera, okay, and this to the holder.
Thank you. Thank you, Phoebe, and thank you so much to the Sierra Club for having me. I really appreciate being here tonight. And as Phoebe mentioned, I'm the brand new CEO, so it sounds like there has been some history with the Sierra Club and the Trail Conservancy, so I will address any questions that may come up, but I may not know all the answers, but I'm open to entertaining all conversations. Again, I've been here for about 4 months, but I'll share a little bit more about my background and how I got to this place. So previously I was doing corporate social responsibility at NI and Samsung for about 14 years. So I was on the corporate side, but managing a lot of nonprofit relationships. So I was on the board of Keep Austin Beautiful for 6 years, Leadership Austin, and the Austin Ed Fund. So I've always been really involved in the community and giving back. And so when this opportunity came up, it was like, this is a perfect blend of my professional experience, but also personally, I'm extremely excited about this role because I'm very much invested as a runner, as a nature lover, is what the importance of this organization means to this community. So again, thank you so much for having me tonight. All right, so as you've already heard, what our mission is to protect, enhance, and connect the 10-mile hike and bike trail. So the 10 miles that go around Lady Bird Lake, in addition to the 300 acres of parkland that surround the trail. And here's a little bit of history about the trail. It actually all started in 1971 out of the grand idea of Lady Bird Johnson and Ann Butler. They had a conversation in London as they were looking over the Thames path. And they were like, we should bring this experience to Austin. And in 1971, they had that conversation. And then they came back and created the Beautification Committee. So it's a bunch of amazing women who started this conversation. And then ultimately in 1972, the first section of the trail was completed. And it's amazing just to see these classic photos. And of course, how different the trail looks now and the beautiful, amazing trees. And of course, the skyline has really changed. But over those several years, really expanded the trail and in terms of just the plants and the trees along the trail. And then in 2003, the Trail Foundation was formed. And it all started out of a tip jar underneath MOPAC with just the idea of wanting more investments and creating more amazing projects around the trail. And in 2011, that's when the Town Lake Hike and Bike Trail was renamed the Roy and Ann Butler Hike and Bike Trail. And one of the most pivotal things in our history as of late was in 2022, 3 years ago yesterday actually, we signed the POMA, which is the Park Operations Maintenance Agreement with the city. And so with that, it means that we will be phasing into full responsibility of the trail. And what that will mean is programming, operating, maintaining, and fundraising for the space. So we work very closely with the City of Austin and Watershed and the Parks and Recreation Department. But as we phase into this, all of that will be kind of run by our organization. So all of the ecological restoration work, in addition to the maintenance and the programming around the trail, will be our full responsibility. So far, over the past 22 years, we have invested over $25 million into the space. And again, that just started with a tip jar under the bridge. And we work very closely with the community to try to give them what the community is asking for. On the trail, we have over 5 million visits per year. And as I've been in this role for almost 4 months now, when I tell people about the trail, it's like, oh, I moved downtown because of the trail. Oh, I moved my business to be closer to the trail. And so we're always having those candid conversations of what we can do as an organization to give the community what they want. And so some of the major projects that we have completed, as you can see here, are, as you can see in the top right, the boardwalk that extends east of 35, the Butler Exercise Gym, which also has a chilled water fountain next to it, very important right now. And then this award-winning restroom very close to the Rainy Street Trailhead. And I'll get into several more projects as we go along the presentation. And here's a little bit more just in terms of our space and what we currently have oversight in. So as you can see, the line is the 10-mile loop around the hike and bike trail and the 300 acres of parkland that surround it. So we have an extremely amazing park ops team who are on the trail every single day with all the weather recently, making sure that we're active and filling in any slides that go into the lake and all of the different slope failures. We are working to patch that up as soon as we can. But just some fun facts in terms of the trail. As I mentioned, we get 5 million visits per year, which is more than the Grand Canyon, surprisingly. And it also goes through 4 city council districts. So we have great relationships at city council and always working with them to make sure that they can advocate on our behalf in terms of just making a great experience for the broader community. All right, now I'll get into a little bit of the work that we do. One of the most important pieces of our work is the ecological restoration, and we really utilize sustainable land management techniques like habitat restoration, invasive species management, and soil restoration to recreate natural ecological processes, which really enhance the biodiversity and the remote ecosystem resilience. So we have teams out there working around the clock, all different seasons, just making sure that the trail is the best that it can be. And right now we're currently managing 100 acres of just the plain natural areas and 4 different wildflower meadows and 6 rain gardens. And that includes 1 million gallons treated and almost collecting 500 pounds of trash. And last year alone, in terms of our volunteer outreach, we had almost 80 events with almost a little over 3,300 volunteer groups who came out and participated. So we have opportunities if you're an individual, if you're a group, if y'all wanted to come out and volunteer for the trail, we have plenty of opportunities around the full 10-mile loop. We also make sure to maintain a lot of, I mentioned the natural areas, but you can see the list out here. But our biggest project as of late, I'll share more later, is the Rainy Street Trailhead, which right now is just beautiful. If you have not been out there, the wildflowers just look absolutely incredible. And I think this is the question that I get most that I didn't anticipate in this role is, when are the goats coming back? So the goats have been a really fun thing to talk about and educate the community of the purpose of what they do. But it is a really eco-friendly way to clear out the poison ivy on the trail. We even have an adopt a goat program, so people can go out and meet their goats when they come back in the fall. So the goats are coming back in the fall. But about 150 goats come per time, and we have these designated areas where we use them to remove the invasive species. And it's really been a great way just to share more about our mission and the importance of doing the invasive species removal in a very safe way. All right, and now the Rainy Street Trailhead. So this is one of our most recent completed capital projects. And let's see here. So I'll kind of share a little bit more. It was completed about a year ago, but it started in 2019 with the new park opening last year. But the Rainy Street area has seen immense growth, and we worked really closely with the neighbors in that area to create a space that, you know, they really need just in terms of natural green space. So we have over 10,000 feet of lawn space, and we also have a nature-based playscape in that area with a multi-use floating dock that is, the whole project is ADA accessible, enhanced shaded seating areas, and also enhanced lighting. So we installed some amber lighting along the trail to make sure that it's very wildlife friendly in the evening. We also added 130 new trees to the park, and it also features 15 different species of trees and over 50 species of shrubs, grass, and natives that are all resilient to the Texas temperatures. And we had a Music on the Trail series for the second season this spring. We look forward to bringing it back in the fall when the temperatures cool down a little bit. Shout out to Jim, one of our amazing Music on the Trail participants. All right, now I'll kind of get into some of the capital projects and work that we do. In the Holly Shores neighborhood, this has personally been my favorite to date. We just had this ribbon cutting a couple weeks ago. So we have worked really intentionally with the Holly neighborhood in the Holly Shores project, all from the Edward Rendon Senior Park Vision Plan that was adopted several years ago. And with this project specifically, fishing was extremely important in this neighborhood. And so we really worked with the community to be intentional in the design and for it to be very accessible. And so when we had the ribbon cutting here just a couple weeks ago, we had 3 generations of family who grew up in the Holly neighborhood, and we had a first cast, and a lot of these families got to cast together. And every single time I've been by, the fishing pier has been packed with people. And, you know, we had, of course, the fences up for a while as we were doing the restoration and the work on this project. And so it's been great to see it being programmed, people really enjoying the space. So there's a beautiful seating area under these beautiful trees there, and of course the pier here. But this is the beginning of many projects, specifically in the Holly neighborhood area. So as you can see here, the next couple projects to come, we will be doing a nature play area. And again, working very closely with the community and the rec center and the schools within the area to define what they need. So working with the young kids through the teenagers. And we've heard a lot of great ideas, potentially a pump track for the kids, and then also just some natural green space for people just to read and to have some nice natural areas, not to program the whole thing, but just to have a nice lawn as well in terms of just making it a space where people can come and hang out. So of the next 2 projects in our 3 big projects within Holly, it will be the nature play area, and then we will do the trailhead. So the trailhead entering into the trail in the Holly neighborhood. So that will be coming in a couple of years. Next, we have our Butler Trail signage. So as you may have seen a couple places along the trail, we're kind of teasing this out. Mile 0 is at Auditorium Shores. And as you can see here on the right is what the signage will look like. So if you've seen the mile markers, maybe you haven't along the trail. They've kind of eroded. There are kind of some stumps along the way. We will soon get this beautiful new signage and wayfinding around the entire trail. So it'll be a great way as an entry point in multiple different spaces around the trail for people to know where they are, where the big trailheads are, the entry points. And so currently this is in fabrication. And in summer, we will have our first install of all the big major mile markers. And then as the I-35 project comes, we will have to kind of like work with that. But this is kind of what you can expect to see along the trail. And what we're really excited about as an organization is an opportunity to share more about what the Trail Conservancy does. So people will be able to, see the QR code and get more information. So we're excited for people to have more of an experience on the trail, to learn more, and also engage with the organization. Next up is the Seaholm Waterfront Project. So this is a very exciting project for a building that has been around the community for a very long time. So the Art Deco building that was once the building that really powered the city for water. It was the pump house for the power plant, and in 1996, it was decommissioned. And so it was just kind of an orphan building for a really long time. And so then in 2016, Studio Gang came in and was brought in to create a plan for adaptive reuse. So to really envision what this building could be. It is very much an iconic building because it's the only building physically on the trail. So we're excited to bring the community in and keep this as a building that is for the community, as an open space, to have events, to have educational opportunities, to talk about the connection and the importance of the land and water. We also want to bring students in and partner with field trips and partner with organizations like the Boys and Girls Club or the Thinkery to bring the community in to talk about just the importance of this building, but what it also means to the community. So currently we are fundraising for this building, ultimately with a goal of raising $15 million. So the city has kind of outfitted the building so far to where it is at least accessible to go into. It used to have these big holes in the ground where the water was coming in, but you can at least now go in and kind of walk around on the surface. So we have had a couple events there primarily for fundraising so we can meet our goal. So then we can start construction eventually to create an HVAC system and to create a space that is just more accessible for the entire community. And here are some pictures of what the space could potentially look like. So again, really taking advantage of the beautiful green space and lawn in the front and making it a place where people can come and congregate. And in the inside, there's a lot of different opportunities, but we want to keep it a very flexible space, an open space where the community can gather, but where we could also have events, potentially a coffee shop so people could pop in as they're walking along the trail, or having different performances, as you can see in the top left. And then ultimately here, a little perch between the two buildings where it would provide a really nice overlook of the lake. So all very exciting, but a big project to fundraise for the $15 million. So as we are working towards that, it's really amazing just to see the potential of what this building could be. Okay, now I will talk through some of the programs that we have. The trail has a variety of different programs outside of just the general maintenance and ecological restoration on the trail. So I'll start with the Music on the Trail series. I know I touched on this previously, but this really came out of a need during the pandemic, just to have more programming, but also doing it in a safe place. And so we started to do this on the trail around the 10-mile loop. But just last fall, we started to do it at the Rainy Street Trailhead. So it is a 6-week series where we partner and bring in local musicians. And every single Wednesday evening at the Rainy Street Trailhead, we invite an act out. And it is just a very chill, fun evening, very much like Blues on the Green vibe. If you have been, I'm sure many of you have. And so we saw over the 6-week series this fall or this spring, we had over 1,000 people come over the 6-week series. So that was a really great opportunity to meet a lot of the neighbors. We saw a lot of families come out. So we look forward to having that again in the fall. And we have several different volunteer days throughout the year. Take a little bit of a scaled back approach in the summer just because of the product of the weather. But we have very intentional volunteer opportunities with shoreline stewardship, with planting, with mulching. So we work very closely with our park ops team in partnership with the city to make sure that all the projects that we're doing are very much in conjunction of what the trail needs. So really proud of that. It's very efficient in the way that we do that. And I also am very proud of how we partner with a variety of organizations. And I think putting on my previous hat, I would always ask nonprofits, how are you working together with other organizations? How are you working with Trail Conservancy? How are you working with Keep Austin Beautiful? We're all cleaning up the lake in our own ways. How can we coordinate our efforts to make the maximum impact? So you can see here a list of organizations that we're working with now. And I know that Joanna Wolliver with the Travis County Parks Foundation is going to be coming later this year. We partner regularly together. So really proud of how the Trail Conservancy works together with a variety of other organizations. Yes?
Do you mind questions now, or do you want to say it before we do?
Sure, go ahead. No. No, I feel pretty confident we will be not be painting trees. So no, and I'll get into the tempo and the trail program, which you're speaking of, in partnership with other artists within the community. But no, I don't think that we have that plan. But again, proud to work with a lot of organizations and how we can uplift and promote each other's work. We also have some holiday events on the trail that we've done in the past, and then we have a large trail fit series and often partner with other organizations throughout the year in terms of mental health and wellness. So kind of promoting how we can program the trail in a way where we can really bring the entire community in. We have kids on bikes in parks, so partner with local rec centers also throughout the year to make sure that they feel comfortable coming to the trail. And we also partner with the Travis Audubon Society. We have a bird walk along the trail. So have a very robust events calendar and always looking to, collaborate and partner with other organizations to make sure that it's a welcoming space for all. All right. Arts and culture. So you teed me up well for our next piece. So in 2023, the Trail Conservancy introduced an arts and culture plan, which ended a 10-year moratorium of art on the trail. And the intent was to display temporary art along the 10-mile loop that would really elevate the trail user experience without ever overwhelming or distracting from the environment. So we want it to be a beautiful ad, nothing that necessarily harms the environment, but really enhances it. And so the Tempo on the Trail program launched in November of 2023. It was a partnership with Art in Public Places, and it eventually launched in March of 2024. And so what you're looking at here are the 8 pieces of art that we had along the trail for a full year. So the intent is that it is a year agreement, and then they will come down, and then we will have a call for the next round of artists. So what you're mentioning was the $25,000 to go towards this specific program. So we are very intentional with the spots that we select along the trail to make sure that it's safe in a place, that is accessible, but also to make sure that it doesn't erode by the shoreline or impede views or potentially any programming here. But as you can see, it's a variety of mediums. And what we're excited about now, having done and completed our first year, is the artists who participated the first round will really help mentor and bring along these next artists that come up. So what are those learnings that we got from the program this first year that we can implement this go around just to enhance that experience on the trail side in addition to the artist? So with it passing last week, hopefully we are now putting out the art call, and then you will hopefully see art on the ground at the beginning of next year. All right, and so the next one I'll talk about is water work, again in the same vein with arts and culture. So last year was the first year we did this program called Water Work. It was again in partnership with, this was with Design Austin and AIA, and it was an amazing opportunity to showcase the Seahome Waterfront Intake Facility and showcase art, working again with local artists to program a light show on the Seahome Intake Facility. So we had people on the other side of the trail, and we also had people on boats and kayaks. Did you go last year? Oh, okay. And it was just a really amazing spectacle. And so you could kind of see it from all parts of the trail, but really excited to bring this back. So the last weekend in September, the 26th and 27th, we will be bringing this back. And again, expanding the program this year, we'll be working with 15 different artists to program a beautiful art show. All right, now going into some opportunities to engage. So we also have many ways to just kind of be involved on the trail in multiple capacities. So one is a bench dedication program. And there are a variety of different places on the trail where people can adopt benches or, put a name on it in memoriam or just in honor of someone. And so the Holly Fishing Pier area that I just mentioned, we have a couple available there. And then the new Longhorn Dam that's going, the Wishbone Bridge, very close to the dam, we have a couple benches available there. And what is really special about these benches specifically is that we worked with an artist in the Holly neighborhood to develop this design specifically. So really happy to again bring in the local talent from the neighborhood to build out these beautiful benches. All right, so next, a little bit more about how we are funded as an organization. Currently, we do not receive any funding from the city, but we do receive money through parkland dedication funds and also grants. And more than half of our funding actually comes from individuals who are just trail lovers themselves. So currently, we do not receive any government funding in the form of grants. But as I mentioned, we have the parkland dedication fees. And then we have a variety of different ways that people give back, whether that's through a business or membership. We just wrapped up our membership drive in May. And as a new leader to this organization, I think one great opportunity is just to educate the broader community of what the Trail Conservancy does. Because I think a lot of people think that the tax dollars just go to paying for the trail. And they don't realize that we are the organization behind making a lot of that work happen. And so I think as a member and as a user of the trail, we just want people to feel invested that this trail is made by the community and for the community. So I think there's a great opportunity there to increase our membership. And with our comprehensive signage plan going in late summer, we're excited to really have the opportunity for people to see those signs and associate the Trail Conservancy with the trail itself. So we also receive funding from family foundations, and as I said, a big chunk of the pie is just from individual contributions. All right, so I mentioned a little bit about this earlier, but in June of 2022 is when we signed the POMA, the Park Operations Maintenance Agreement. And so this was a really pivotal moment in our history. But what this means is, again, being the primary steward of the 10-mile hike and bike trail. And so our role now includes all of the ecological restoration around the trail, the operations and the maintenance and the programming activations. So currently we're in phase 2 of 3. And so again, phasing into over time, getting and gaining more responsibilities to really have more opportunities for the trail. Okay, so we have a variety of ways to get involved. As I mentioned, membership is a great opportunity. We have volunteer events throughout the year. We have opportunities called Days in the Dirt, where you can join as an individual or join as a group or bring your company out. Investing in a capital project. As I mentioned, we have a lot of projects happening right now, one with the Seaholm Water Intake Facility, one with the Holly Project. And so always looking to really bring the community what they are asking for. And what I have been really impressed with the team is how much community engagement goes into these projects. These projects are not just thought about on a whim. It's like, oh, we need a restroom here. There are a lot of conversations and intentionality that go behind all of the projects that you see. So really excited as we continue to grow and just continue to deepen our relationships with the community, just hopefully giving the community more and more of what they asked for. Also have the opportunity, of course, with planned giving, sponsoring a program. So if you love music, sponsoring music on the trail, or water work if you love art, and joining a committee. We have a very robust committee structure, everything from marketing to park ops to development, variety of ways to really make your voice heard and engage in a specific committee. These are our major 3 key signature events over the course of the year. So we just wrapped up, actually this past week, the Maudie's Moonlight Run, which was the biggest to date, which was super duper exciting. We had over almost 2,500, I think like 20 people shy register for the Moonlight Run. So we were at Auditorium Shores just last Thursday night. So we had almost 2,500 people out, started at 8 p.m., so waited for the sun to go down a little bit. Wasn't too brutal in terms of the heat. But again, just a great opportunity for people to enjoy the space and really get to know more about what the Trail Conservancy does. And so then skipping back a little bit for Earth Month, we have a lot of opportunities specifically around Earth Day. So we have a big Earth Day cleanup in partnership with the Rowing Dock. So we have 3 different sites where we send volunteers. One is at Epic Sup, the rowing dock, and then Festival Beach. So we have opportunities for people to engage on the water for a cleanup, but also on land. And then we had 2 other opportunities that weekend. One was a bio blitz, so a great way to bring out families and kids to learn about the different plants and species along the trail, in addition to a Jubilee, which was the family-friendly festival, ultimately the major celebration. So we had a lot of other great organizations come out, live music, partner activations. We had Austin Flea Market out there. So it was a really great way to kind of celebrate the culmination of having over 2,000 volunteers volunteer the day prior for Earth Day. And last but not least, we have Twilight on the Trail, which is our main big fundraiser for the entire year. So this event will be on October 27th at the Four Seasons and is very much trail branded. We call it cocktail on top and trail on the bottom. So wear whatever you want, and then you have your trail shoes on at the bottom. So this event has been extremely successful over the past several years and just bringing out people and telling more trail stories. So we're looking forward to that again at the end of October. And as I mentioned, there are a variety of different membership opportunities. And we just had our membership reception a couple weeks ago. But these membership opportunities, of course, include a variety of different benefits. But I'm excited to really expand the opportunities for members. So one that we did recently was that we had a hard hat tour for the Holly Fishing Pier. So before it was open, we had our Cypress Circle and Conservation Circle members out to kind of get a sneak peek before it went live. So there will be a lot more opportunities in the future to kind of get a sneak peek. And then the Bluebonnet Circle and Redbud, we just had this past weekend a young professionals event at the other racket social club. We had a big fun pickleball tournament, which was great. All right, so I think that is it in terms of just my planned remarks, but I would be happy to entertain any questions, like I said, as much as I can answer them. Yes.
Can you tell me about the relationship between your organization and the boating operations, like the Austin Rowing Club and the you mentioned Rowing Dock, and there's another one whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, sure. I know all the acronyms: ARC, TRC, RD. So when we signed the POMA, one of the big components of that was to make sure that this was a sustainable and smart decision on our end, was for us to have the opportunity to get concession revenue. And so currently we're working on signing the agreement with the Texas Rowing Center, TRC, for us, the Trail Conservancy, to receive that concession revenue. So as we phase into the POMA, we will be getting more of that concession revenue with the other boat concessionaires around the lake. And then that specific revenue will be poured back into the park. So we're excited to say that the concession dollars versus going into the general fund will be going back into the space to enhance the trail itself.
Okay, thank you.
Wait for the microphone so everyone can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think there are around 20 plus concessions around the trail. And some of those concessions have been run by families, by businesses that have been in Austin a long time. And there is some concern about the fact that the Trail Society would just kick those concessions out and you would get money, and then the money would go to you for those concessions. And this kind of feeds into, if you're aware of the Zilger Vision Plan, the environmental community and a lot of the community in Austin was very nervous about that because they saw it essentially as using the park itself to raise money to maintain the park, which means essentially closing off the park to the public for the time to raise money. And so there is some concern that the Trail Conservancy might end up doing something the same. I mean, we don't know. And so there is a fear out there. So I just maybe want to address that.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So as we phase into this, what I have learned is they all have different agreements, all the concessionaires. So it's not just a one size fits all. Everybody has the same agreement. Everybody has the same contract. And so our intention is to not mow over and move anyone out. It's to really work with the businesses in terms of that timing and having that transparency of what that looks like. So I don't think we have any intention to move a business out. It's more just instead of that money going back into the general fund, it would then go to the Trail Conservancy, so then we can invest those dollars to enhance the trail. Yes.
So speaking of those concessions like the boats, do they have some kind of a user agreement contract on what they're expected to do?
Yes. So we are his question was, is there an agreement? Actually, it'd probably be, I'll just try to answer it if anyone has any questions. We are working with the city in terms of those agreements. So it's very transparent on that end to make sure that the agreement is agreed upon with all those parties.
So it's through the city.
Yes. Yes, Phoebe.
There's a big slide on the creek side.
Yes.
That's under repair. First question, is that the Trail Conservancy's responsibility and money going into that? And second, someone asked this week why it was being done. Couldn't it just be moved back? I'm assuming it would be moved back into other parkland and maybe privately. I don't know. Do you?
The Trail Conservancy is not managing that specific project. It is the Watershed Department who's managing that project. Because it impacts the trail directly, we are communicating about it as much as we can, because there have been some detours around the ball fields where we have heard from the community, and so we're trying to work with Watershed as best as we can to make sure that the community knows the plans that they have to complete that project. And so that has happened way before my time in terms of those decisions of why they decided to not look to potentially move it outside of that specific area. But with that slope failure project, it is watersheds, but we're working to the best of our ability just to communicate to the broader community of when it will potentially be opening. But they are managing that project.
I have a question. As you do your ecological management, what are you having to do because climate change is creating more drought, more heat, more flooding? How are you planning for that?
Yeah, great question. So I think a big component is just planting a lot of native plants, and also working really closely with the park ops, also with Watershed, to make sure that we're partnering together to make sure that the shoreline is in the good shape that it needs to be. Because what we've been seeing is just with the water moving faster, that more things along the trail are eroding. And so how can we make sure to, shore it up to where that doesn't happen as much as possible? Because we're very, very much aware of that. So trying to be as proactive as we can in our plantings and in our partnership with the city, where potentially they do have, the opportunity to create, build more projects around like what Watershed is doing with the slope failure project.
One question here. You said you have 5 million visitors a year. How do you get to that number? Do you have people out there counting, like, not every day, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just periodically and you estimate, or how does it?
That's my job, actually. As CEO, I'm out there just clocking numbers. I am one of the 5 million many times. We actually do have counters on the trail. So just where it has little, like on different poles in terms of just creating or tracking those numbers. So just in terms of the number of people who are out there. So it's visits. It's not visitors per year. So, as best as we can, we're not taking any data from anyone. It's just the bodies on the actual trail itself. I'll go here first since you have, you have the mic. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, couple of questions. How closely are y'all tied in with the Cox family and the Austin American States Society that's going to be developed? And all those beautiful trees, those cypress trees, cotton trees, etc., that line the lake there and make it such a beautiful part of the walk.
Yes, it is a beautiful space. So something I don't think I mentioned is actually we have a safety and mobility plan this will kind of tie into your answer, but I'll get there. That we look at multiple areas around the trail. Where are there pinch points around the lake? Where are there opportunities to create a more safe experience on the trail? And one of them is in this specific space just below the Hyatt property. And so a couple of years ago, we received a grant from TxDOT based off of our safety and mobility survey to create a boardwalk right around that property. And so what we're working with right now with the city is where that potentially would tie in. And we know that there's also this big project coming. And so just working with all the different stakeholders there. But there are a lot of steps that need to happen before that actually comes to fruition. But because we have this great plan and this feedback, it was identified as the perfect opportunity to say, we have this pinch point on the trail. You know, it's a 6 foot wide area where people are biking. Oh, there's a stroller. There's a dog on a leash. And so hopefully we are going to be able to provide an experience to extend that boardwalk just outside of there around that space. Again, don't know where it's going to necessarily tie in, but we're very much aware of the project and working with them as best as possible to stay informed.
Follow up on that. The plans I've seen for the statesman side for the developer put forward was to move the trail away from the lake through the statesman side, pull it up and make it closer to the commercial buildings before it comes back down and goes under the bridge. Are y'all in favor of that? Is that something you're going to support? Or will you object to that?
I think currently we're hoping that we can build a boardwalk because that would really provide a better experience in terms of being on the water. And again, because we have identified this specific area as a safety concern, we think that building a boardwalk, because we have done that already in 2014 with a beautiful boardwalk experience just east of 35, we hope to provide that experience again with that specific space. Sure.
Speak of your parrot.
What do you mean?
Do you get involved with the parrots?
Parrots. Oh, I thought you said parents. I was like, what do you want to know about my parents? You mean right above the Hartman Bridge, kind of right with the yes, the parrots. He was asking about the parrots. We don't do anything specifically to my knowledge with the parrots. I always marvel at them every single time I walk or run by. So yeah, nothing specifically, but I'm sure on our bird walks with Travis Audubon Society, I'm sure that's definitely something that they very much point out. And I will mention, with Waterloo Greenways project coming and the confluence, it will ultimately connect with the Butler Trail. So we're also working with them just in terms of having that very seamless experience. So, we're so happy that that is also being built because essentially there will be more people that will be connected to the Butler Trail. And of course, everything that's happening with 35, we really all believe that all trails will see much more activity. So hopefully just providing more safe opportunities for people to get around, whether that's walking, running, biking, just because I think, there will just continue to be more congestion with this pending construction over several years. Yes, Phoebe. Oh, here you have the...
I'm not sure why this woman is not mentioned on your website or in your presentation, but there's a very important woman who was key to establishing the trail very early on. And in fact, Lady Bird Johnson said that she was the engineer of the trail. And that Lady Bird herself just got on the train and rolled with her. And that is Roberta Crenshaw, who was Austin's real first environmentalist. So we have a real strong affinity for her. Not everyone in Austin, old Austin, feels that way. But I think most people do. So she's the one who actually built the first part of the trail and had her farm hands come in and plant the trees along the trail and put in the stones. So I'm going to send you some information
I'm here for it. I love it.
She was actually Roberta Purvis from Arkansas. She married Malcolm Reed, so she was Roberta Reed, and then she married Crenshaw Golfer's
Oh, okay.
father.
Right.
So, but there is a Roberta
Yes.
Overlook.
Yes.
Okay.
I know her name from that, but but thank you for sharing that. And I think that's what's been so great about this position is that I'm constantly learning the history and the amazing, the beautification was primarily made up of women and just their dedication to seeing this trail through. And so actually the Fannie Davis Gazebo was a project that we recently just did some restoration on. So if you haven't seen it, it is amazing, and you go underneath and see the beautiful lights. We've restored it to the original color. So thanks to an amazing grant from a family, we're happy that is now open. So right across from Auditorium Shores, highly recommend that you go check that out. But again, always love learning about the people who really, who created and invested in the trail very early on.
Mrs. Crenshaw, along with Jackie Goodman and Mary Arnold and many others, they are the grand dames of environmentalism. Molly Ivins also.
That's great. Yeah, and we actually have a list on our website of the Beautification Committee, and so I'm sure all of these names are also included. Any other questions? Yeah. Oh. Sorry. Did you ask impact on the bats? In terms of like construction with projects, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, that brings in millions of people to Austin, not just Austinites, but people from
Yeah.
Austin to see the bats.
Absolutely. I think everything in our power to make sure that they are not disturbed or disrupted. But I don't foresee any of our projects as of now, where we wouldn't take that into account to mitigate anything that would, impede with the bats that come out in the summer. Yes.
Okay, your turn. I was really impressed to hear your articulation of all the organizations that you partner with and the ways that you do that. I was hoping you could speak to maybe some of the advantages or benefits that you've seen to your partner organizations that have collaborated on projects. I used to work at Thinkery, so I'm a fan there, but Audubon Society as well.
That's great. I think, again, coming from my previous role on corporate social responsibility, I was meeting a new nonprofit every single day. So having these conversations of what is the Thinkery doing different than the Boys and Girls Club versus XYZ. So there are so many organizations out there who are doing great work. So instead of us creating a brand new program, let's partner with an organization who is already doing that really well. And so a program that we're working with this summer is with the city and the local rec center and with the Violet Crown Trail or Violet Crown Cycling Club. So we work with them specifically with the kids on bikes and parks. Because I think, the more advocates that we have and the more people who are championing what they're doing in their core mission in partnership with our mission, I think it will just continue to lift up everyone. So always looking for those organizations who are doing things really well and how can we showcase what they're doing. Because we have, so many visits a year, that also comes with so many opportunities to highlight the work that people are doing. And this is a small tangent, but what has been amazing to see is just the power of the trail, that people come to the trail in good times and people come to the trail in bad times. People come to the trail to have conversations about what's going on in their personal life or with work. And so I think because it is such a centering place, that's also a great opportunity, again, to highlight partnerships with mental health awareness or with Trail Fit. And so we want people to always feel like that this is a welcoming space. So why not partner with other organizations who, again, have great networks of people, whether that's through families, kids, schools. So hoping to continue that and always open to ideas just to bring more organizations into the fold. Love the Thinkery.
So I'm trying to get a little clarity here. So you're talking about a boardwalk. When the Statesman PUD is the area just to the east of the Bat Bridge. are you talking about a boardwalk there? Okay, because the problem is that trail, on the trail, there's actually a lot of space on the trail there at the moment. And it's one of these beautiful places where the trees meet overhead. It's totally shaded. It's absolutely beautiful. And when the bats take off, and there's been some research done this recently on bats, when bats take off, they're vulnerable because sometimes, particularly in the hot heat of summer, it's still light and we have birds trying, like hawks. And so they fly along the tops of trees. And right there are a lot of really big bald cypress that weren't there in those pictures.
Yeah, no, they're beautiful. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So there's a big thing where the Statesman PUD may be put back to ground zero, depending on a court case that.
No, we lost.
We lost? We didn't? Okay, but anyway, what the Statesman PUD is going to try and do is remove those trees. They want to bring their concessions out where the trail is now. But your solution is to build a boardwalk out around it and avoid that? I mean, am I getting that correct?
I am not as familiar with all of the plans with the Statesman, so I don't feel confident. I mean, we are going to try to, champion what we think is best for the trail experience, in addition to, keeping the trees and just the native plants that are around that area. So we're not trying to disrupt that specific space. But, there's only so much we can do when there's a developer that's coming in. So we're trying to work with them as much as possible. But just specifically on the trail experience there, on the other side, kind of where the Rivian property cuts in, that's where we're working with just like where is the appropriate place to tie in this eventual boardwalk. So taking all of these considerations, but there's all these different landowners there with related and with the Statesman and with the highway going through. So I think it's just going to continue to be a conversation of what makes sense to, try to mitigate as much as possible to not disrupt any trees or take anything down. It is a beautiful space.
Dick, did you want this?
The crossing of Colorado is a part of the Appalachian. I'm sure it belongs to whoever OPAC belongs to. It is Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority. But how do you work with them to continue to use that the Colorado River crossing?
The one underneath MOPAC? Good question. I haven't gotten that question before. I have not met with CTRMA yet, but I know that is one of the most highly visible and trafficked areas. So I don't know. I mean, with all of the MOPAC construction, I think to come, I don't know what that looks like, but I'm sure that our capital projects team is very much in conversation of making sure that stays open and accessible. Sure. Here. Okay, perfect. Yeah, great question. So mostly local. Actually, I can't think of anyone who's really outside of Austin, but a lot of those corporate sponsors are made up from a variety of different types of businesses, anything from tech to real estate to a lot of businesses that are just around the trail with all the different condos going in downtown. So it's a really wide range, but I would say primarily a lot of local. And one big thing that we hear from corporate sponsors is that people are really interested in engaging their employees. So how can they also support their employees with matching opportunities, whether that's through board service or volunteer hours or entries to the Maudie's Moonlight Run. And so when we are meeting with a variety of different individuals or corporations, how can we create a package that is attractive to that specific business? And that can look like many different ways, whether that is supporting a specific project on the trail, a program, sponsoring a day in the dirt. We actually just last week partnered with Sonar, and they had over 200 of their employees out for a day of service. And so we were at Festival Beach, mulching a ton of trees, picking up a lot of trash. So really trying to be very open to partner with businesses in the best of our ability.
I'm going to thank you
very
much for your presentation.
Thank you, Phoebe. Thank you.
And I'm curious that perhaps how do our members get in touch if they want to volunteer? Who do they?
Yes.
Where do they contact?
So you can visit our website, thetrailconservancy.org, and you can also scan this QR code, which will take you to our website. And also on our website, we have a link to our monthly newsletter. So we will not spam you with a lot of different opportunities, but the newsletter is a great opportunity to learn about different programs that are coming up, signing up for volunteer opportunities. So that would probably be the easiest way for us to engage and continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. And we will hope to see you next month in Lyceum on geothermal energy. So that's July the 9th, and we'll be back here. Thanks for coming.